Well, welcome to the Netham Education Provider Tender Briefing. My name is Peter Mackie. I'm the Executive Director of the Netham at the Western Parkland City Authority. Before we begin today's session, let's hear from Dr. Jennifer Westacott, AO, Chair of the Western Parkland City Authority Board.
The New South Wales Government has announced a major new education and training model for Bradfield City Centre, the Aerotropolis. And this new education model will transform the way education and training are done in Australia. It will be a series of micro-credentials where students, whether they're graduates, whether they're undergraduates, can stack specific subjects, whether they're from TAFE, whether they're from universities, and they can also work and learn at the same time. And this is going to be transformative. What it will mean is that the high-tech, world's best companies will come to Western Sydney, they'll come to New South Wales because they'll be able to get those skilled workers. And it will also mean for people in Western Sydney, they can get access to these new industries, these new high-paying tech jobs. This is a transformation of Australia. It's a huge opportunity for Western Sydney. It means these large companies are going to make Western Sydney and New South Wales their growth hub for the Asia-Pacific region and the Indo-Pacific region.
Well, thanks very much, Jennifer. And now on to the presentation itself. Why do we need a new model? Well, technology is really changing the workforce and it's changing the kind of skills that employers need. Businesses are reporting that they have significant skill shortages and they only expect those to grow. And job seekers often don't have the skill sets that employers are looking for. But the biggest problem we're trying to solve here is that the current education and training system is just not responsive enough to the needs of industry. So what is the Netham? The Netham is a pilot. It's a pilot that comes with a significant investment of $37 million from the New South Wales Government, and that will help us fund the development and delivery of over 100 micro-credentials over the next 4 years to at least 3,000 learners. The sectors we're targeting are all key growth sectors of the Western Parkland City, and they include advanced manufacturing, aerospace, defence, freight logistics, agribusiness and pharmaceutical manufacturing. So the Netham is a flipped model. It's a model where industry is in the driver's seat and they are determining what content is being delivered. The content very much will be blended learning delivery, so online delivery and applied learning through latest state-of-the-art technology on campus at the providers of choice. And it's very much bespoke. And as I said earlier, it's really about the rapidity and the speed to market that this model will bring. And then our role through the Netham is to evaluate the impact of those micro-credentials and to try and validate a new model that we can look to implement going forward. So what is a micro-credential? Well, in the case of the Netham, we're talking about short courses that are around 40 hours of content. They are designed to be delivered at different levels of complexity. In terms of the Australian Qualifications Framework, currently the Netham micro-credentials would sit outside the AQF, but we expect over the course of the pilot that we will explore AQF alignment and accreditation. And then in terms of assessment, we would expect the majority of micro-credentials will be assessed in one way, but we're certainly open to innovative proposals from providers to demonstrate how learners can acquire and demonstrate skills acquired. So how will the Netham work? Well, we will receive proposals from industry. We will have those proposals validated by our industry reference group. And then if supported, the Netham will go out and procure on behalf of industry or government, potentially, micro-credentials from the panel of pre-qualified providers. And the provider that's been selected for that work would then work quite closely with their industry partner in terms of the co-design and co-delivery of those micro-credentials into the workforce. So now moving on to the education and training providers panel. I should highlight that we are looking to have a very broad panel, one that includes providers across the higher education and vocational sectors, both public and independent providers, but importantly those that have got proven capability and capacity in the sectors that we're talking about. The initial contract term for the providers will be on the panel will be 2 years. That'll be managed through an agreement, which is a deed of standing offer. Of course, getting onto the panel is no guarantee of work, but pre-qualified providers may be invited to quote for specific micro-credentials that relate and align to their specific capability. I do want to highlight here that panel members will be expected to participate and in fact required to participate in an advisory group, and that'll help us provide advice around the academic integrity and educational elements of the program, including aspects like recognition of prior learning and so on, and the stacking of micro-credentials. And we also reserve the right to review the composition of the panel over time and add providers as necessary. So what are the benefits to education and training providers? Well, we really think this will help drive greater collaboration between providers and also between providers and industry. And we believe it will also help providers demonstrate that they are at that cutting edge of credentials and being able to demonstrate that they can meet the demand of future job seekers through the impact and effectiveness of their micro-credentials. So I want to talk now about the RFT process. There is a request for tender that is currently open, and I do want to stress that this is a completely separate process from any other existing agreements that might exist between organisations and the Western Parkland City Authority currently. I also want to highlight that individual providers need to apply themselves. So even if you're part of a grouping of institutions, you need to be applying individually yourself to be on the panel. And all of the details of the NEDM RFT are available on the New South Wales e-tendering website. You can see the link there. And as mentioned, the submissions are currently open and will be open until the 5th of November at 2 p.m. Sydney time. They will close at 2 p.m. Sydney time on the 5th of November. And they must be uploaded via the e-tendering portal. So who should apply? We want to make sure before you respond to the tender that you are well placed to deliver the objectives of the NEDM. So there's a checklist for you to have a look at here. You will need to demonstrate that you have technical excellence in one of the industry specialisations that I talked about earlier, and they are listed there on the screen. You will need to demonstrate that you have existing industry partnerships, and you'll also need to demonstrate that you've got existing capability and capacity in those sectors. And importantly, you will need to be able to provide face-to-face learning in Western Sydney, either through your own campus, your own organisation, or through existing partnerships that you can demonstrably leverage. So there will be 4 parts to the RFT. There are 4 parts to the RFT, and part D is the response schedule. So that's the one that you need to respond to, and they must be completed by all tenderers, and the forms for the proposal for your organisation have to be returned with the tender. So key dates and timeframes. The RFT opened on the 8th of October last week. This briefing today on the 18th of October is taking place. There is a process for asking questions, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but we will receive questions up until the 29th of October at 5 p.m. Sydney time. And then the RFT will close itself on the 5th of November. The questions close in order for us to be able to provide responses, and I'll talk about the process for that in a moment. And then we will, once the RFT closes on the 5th of November, we'll go through the evaluation process, which we expect to last throughout November. And then we hope to be in a position to execute the deeds of standing offer to those providers that have been invited onto the panel by, let's say, late November, early December. And we're hoping that we'll have all the deeds commenced by the middle of, or potentially even later in December. As I mentioned before, tenders received after the closing date may not be considered, so please make sure you get your tender in on time. Looking at the evaluation criteria, I won't read these out line by line, but the weighted criteria on this page looks at both capability and capacity. And on, this is a second part of it here, also looking at SME participation and sustainability commitment, indicative cost and risk as well. So you'll need to respond to all of that evaluation criteria. So part D, the technical response, speaks to that evaluation criteria. And I should highlight here that tenderers are welcome to provide the response in their own format, but you need to maintain the structure provided in the RFT and follow the page and word limits that have been outlined throughout the tender response schedule. So questions. As mentioned, we can't take questions today as the session is recorded, but after the session today, if you still have questions, any questions and communications inquiries need to be directed through the procurement@wpca.sydney address that you can see there on the screen. I mentioned before that we will be looking at all of the questions that come in, and we'll collate those actually on a weekly basis and provide answers to those questions, and they will be uploaded to the eTender website as an addendum, and we'll do that on a weekly basis, most likely on a Tuesday. And that's why we're closing off questions on the 29th of October to give us time to be able to provide responses so that everyone can see all of the questions that have been asked and all of the answers to each of those that have been provided through the eTender website. So thank you very much for attending today. I hope you found that informative, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.